Sonya Massie was murdered by police officers in her own house. Now, she might have been crazy. She might have been whatever. She's an American citizen. She's in her own home. She called the police because she thought there was a prowler about. She thought she was seeing people. She felt threatened. So she calls the police. The situation escalates with some of the worst police work you will ever see in your life. I've talked to multiple policemen, friends of mine, that have watched the video and they've said, this is insane. This should have ended. The whole call should have ended 5 minutes before it escalated to the point where she grabbed the boiling water. Now, there's always a bootlicker. There's always a Blue Lives Matter guy. And this is where Republicans, this is where I lose you all the time. You guys think I'm this hard right wing, and then all of a sudden I talk about being pro-choice, and I tell you guys, stop talking about abortion. And you're like, oh, I thought he was one of us. Stop talking about abortion. If the leftists want to kill their babies, guys, count it as a win. All right? Like, never stop your enemies when they're making a mistake. That just leave it alone. Stop talking about it. Drugs, decriminalize them. Decriminalize them. Defund the DEA. Defund the ATF. Get rid of them. The ATF should be a store. Alcohol, tobacco, firearms should be the name of a store. Not a federal police force. Not losing the right wing, guys. Oh, I thought you were one of us. And the police, I do not believe police. I do not believe. Now I'm going to lose all of you. I do not believe local police should have lethal force. Look at the hat I'm wearing. I'm as pro-Second Amendment as anybody you will ever meet. But the state and apparatuses of the state do not have the right to be judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to protecting and serving their own citizens. You don't get to shoot an innocent woman in her head, in her own apartment. That cop should be charged with murder. He murdered Miss Massie. The state does not get to come into its citizens' homes, raise a gun at you, and extinguish your life. That was beyond a tragedy. And yet, where are the riots? Where's Black Lives Matter? This woman, a black woman, called the police because she felt threatened. She felt vulnerable. And bad policing occurred. At least one white cop, maybe two. This is everything Black Lives Matter looks for. The Marxists lick their chops for moments like this. Round up! Round up the protesters. We're going marching. Not a march. No buildings burning. No looting. No rioting. This was way worse than George Floyd. Way worse. Optically, aggressive white men, a frail, scared older woman, not high on fentanyl, not a career felon. Saying, I rebuke you, devil, gets shot in the face in her own kitchen. Disgusting. Where are the marches? Or has the veil lifted completely? And is it now okay for us to admit the truth that they don't march when Democrats are in charge? When Democrats are in power, they don't burn down cities. They don't loot. They don't riot. I was told that this was the voice of the people. I was told that they had no other choice but to riot and loot. That this was a racial reckoning that we lived through, where we, white people, had to live by one set of rules: stay inside, or you're a super spreader. Stay inside. Lock yourselves indoors. Otherwise, you're going to kill everybody with the virus. Unless you're protesting racism, because racism is a pandemic too. You guys remember that? You guys remember those doctors that signed off on that letter who are still practicing medicine right now? As if the virus was able to pick and choose who to infect based on their political mores. Where are the protests? This woman deserves them. But now we see it, don't we? Black Lives Matter, which, by the way, all the donations to Black Lives Matter went through Act Blue. Black Lives Matter protests, who Kamala Harris, running for president of the United States now, said will never end. They're going to keep going. Y'all better get used to them, she cackled. How did she know that? How was she so sure that they weren't going to stop? Could it be that she is endorsed and financed by the same people organizing, endorsing, and financing those protests? Could it be that the pink hat marches and the BLM marches and our pride marches, our racial, social justice reckoning, our moment of equity has literally nothing to do with women or black people or gay folks, and everything to do with ensuring Democrats maintain federal power? If it's not about Democratic power, where are the marches? An innocent woman was shot dead in cold blood in her own kitchen. It's grotesque. There's no way you can watch that body camera footage and not come away thinking this is horrible. This is everything Black Lives Matter we're talking about. This is everything defund the police we're talking about. Where are they? All we talk about, all we hear the news talk about is how political violence always comes from the right. These crazy white men in Patriot Front. Definitely not feds. But I remember the 2020 elections were happening. People in cities across America were boarding up their shops. They were boarding up the streets. They were boarding up their windows of their apartments. Do you think they were doing that in case the Republicans won? Were they girding themselves for Republican violence? At what point do we admit and acknowledge that these protesters are coming from the left? That the violence in this country, the political violence, is coming from the left. And it's not happening organically. It's being organized. It's being financed. It's being unleashed on us, American citizens, of all races, of all colors. The buildings that burnt down, the businesses that were ruined, they weren't white men-owned businesses. There were stories I remember of the black firefighter who waited 20 years to buy that sports bar. And the callous, I'll never forget that callous woman that says, I don't care about these businesses. They got insurance. Clearly somebody that's never dealt with insurance. Imagine if we took that frame of mind in counter-protesting Imagine if I saw someone burning the American flag, as happens in almost every one of these pro-Palestine protests. And I decided to clench my fist and destroy the orbital bone of the person lighting the flag on fire. You can't assault that person. You just broke their face. That's okay. They got insurance. Does that work? Is that fair? Is turnabout fair play in that regard? What is fair anymore? What's justice? What's law? What's order? We don't know. It's right now, the only rule of the land in America is whoever has the power makes the rules. Dangerous place to be.